Good. What shall we talk about tonight?
I really haven't a question in particular. I wondered whether on this course, whether you'd like to speak of some of the great spiritual lights of the world and their teachings, such as Buddha and Lao Tzu and Jesus.
I'd rather prefer giving my own teachings, but we would touch and quote from them as we go along. So any particular question would be nice.
When people talk of love and marriage between two people, they refer to it as a bond. And when people get married, they call it the bonds of marriage or the ties that bind. And is marriage or a relationship between two people, is it meant to be a bond between two people, or does the word bond go deeper than the actual?
Many people, when they fall in love with each other, as the saying goes, although love is elevating, but when two people get together, they think that they've formed a bond. But most times what happens is that they have gone into bondage. Bond is something that brings about freedom and not bondage. Bondage is servitude. Bondage is enclosing oneself, building walls within oneself, and you can't peer at what's happening outside and neither what's happening inside. So the greatest obstacle we find in marriages today is a bondage instead of a bond. Now, what is a bond? That is the question. Where does this bond come from? How far does it go back? And what are the causes of the bond? Bond means to bind. Where two people are bound together in beauty, in oneness, and in joy, then it ceases to be bondage, because, as I said, bondage is an encumbrance. But the freedom that one experiences in the bond between two people would be like two flowers growing in the same garden, so close to each other, and yet both are growing individually and so similarly because of the same species. The qualities required in the bond is, firstly, it starts with physical or mental attraction. But that is not where it should end, because if it should just be a physical or mental attraction, then definitely it would end. For a man might seem very handsome to a woman, but in a few weeks' time, he will just be a man. And same thing applies to the woman. She could be very beautiful, but in a few weeks or some months, when the honeymoon period is over, the attraction would cease. It's like buying a new motor car, and having the new motor car, you'd enjoy it for a few weeks, so much. But then after that, you get tired of it, and it's nothing else but a car that takes you from point A to point B. Now, when there is bondage, then definitely there is dependency. Man on the woman or the woman on the man. And dependency is, of course, weakness, where we use the spouse as a crutch. We use the spouse to vent our inner turmoils, the inner turbulences, job difficulties, communication difficulties, and we take it out on the wife or the husband, because bondage, to repeat again, is dependence. But in the bond of love, there is independence. And I've said this before, two people in love do not necessarily look into each other's eyes, but two pairs of eyes look in the same direction. You see? And to preserve this, to have this bond, the bond might have roots in many lives past, perhaps, where there has been a great love, a great bond, and then in this life, because of the attraction, because as a magnet would attract filings, they would come together even from the opposite sides of the world. Circumstances would happen by that supernatural force, that supernatural gravitational force, if you would like to call it, that would bring those two people together. Now, in the bond, you are bound with positive qualities. You become more responsible. You become more caring. You put the other person before you. And you take a secondary place. That the man does, and the same thing the woman does. The woman would say he is important, and the man would say no, she is important. And when both have that attitude, it would be like climbing a ladder from two sides and meeting up at the center where they stand equal. So, it might start with dependence, but one outgrows the dependence, and become interdependent, that one could not do without the other. Not in the sense of a crutch, but just by the sheer force of what is known to be love. But that is not where the story ends. I was speaking to someone the other day, that even interdependence must cease. So, from dependence you go to interdependence, and then you go to independence. And yet the love, the deep love remains. Now, for the deep love to remain is a job. You have to work at it. Self-sacrifice, not from one party only, because people tend always to demand more from the other party, more than what they deserve. So the principle is that you deserve it, and then you can demand. And if that principle is supplied to both spouses, then a greater harmony exists between them. I've known many cases, for example, myself. I might just think of having a cup of tea, and here the tea would be coming along. She'd be bringing it to me. A total closeness, where even the thoughts are known before they are uttered. So, this is brought about by devotion, sacrifice, and a total mergence into each other, where you do not say, I love you. Love comes between the I and the you. The I must vanish. The you must vanish, because that causes a separation. Love brings about a togetherness and not a separation. You don't say I, because as soon as you say I, you're exerting your own personality, your own little ego self, your own little selfishnesses, your own little greeds, your own little lusts. And you means the same, that I do not regard you as myself. You are apart from me. So, these words are used so much, but the true context is not really understood. I love you. I and you. Separation is there. Only love must be there. And one would say, I am you. And that is to be said by both, so that her pains would be your pains, your joys would be her joys. So here comes sharing in the initial stages, where you share. But you still go further. You don't share anymore. For when the beloved is regarded to be yourself, then with whom are you going to share? You can only share with someone that is apart from you. So even the question of sharing disappears. The question of devotion disappears. The question of sacrifice also disappears, as long as the I and the you are there. But when only love is there, then none of these very relative qualities, which are necessary in the beginning stages, we live a relative life. They're necessary, but that is not the ultimateness of the relationship between man and women. In one of the Eastern languages it is said, Patiye Parameshwar, my husband is my God. And it's also said, Patni ye mari Parameshwari, my wife is my goddess. So the human life, the ordinary physical body, is elevated to the level of a god and a goddess. Now, what is the difference between a god and a goddess? None whatsoever. Because at that level of love, the god and the goddess just becomes an energy. Two aspects of the same energy. One portrays itself with certain qualities and the other with other qualities. Like the qualities that a woman is born with is a greater amount of sympathy, a greater amount of tolerance, a greater amount of patience. Those are womanly qualities, and if she did not have qualities like those, she would not be qualified to be a mother. Because all women that have children, if you ask them, they will tell you what a job it is to bring up the children. Now, the man again has his qualities, the breadwinner, the fighter, the protector. So when all these qualities are combined, you make a wholeness. In India, there's a beautiful statue which a certain sect believe in. It's called Ardhenarishvara. Ishvara, Nari means woman, Ishvara is the male factor. And if you look at the statue, it is half women, half man. So at the level of the god and the goddess that one aspires to and that one has reached, you will find the emergence between the woman and the man, so that they function, they walk through life in that beautiful, divine oneness. And if there is oneness, there is no friction. It is only two it takes two to tango, as the saying goes. This one couple, newlywed, and whenever you find newlyweds somewhere, people seem to stare. They get married. What a nice bride, what a nice groom. So they're going on their honeymoon, so they agreed with each other. Says, look, let us behave in such a way not to attract attention. Let us make people think that we are married for a long time. So the husband says, very easy, you carry the bags. See, now these things keep on happening. So the ultimate goal is to find that total oneness with either spouse. Speaking of myself, I could just close my eyes and have Lata, which is my wife's name, have it right in front of me. Totally. So tangible as if I could touch her. And these things are not impossible. These things are not impossible. For what is making her appear in front of me in a total fullness, tangibleness? Not my mind. Because if it was my mind, it would be a projection. You can project anything from your mind. It comes from deep within, where hearts have merged. In Indian, in Sanskrit, there's the word ardhangana. The woman is half of yourself. You are never total, never complete without that woman. So, the completion of a woman lies in having her beloved, and the completion of the man lies in having his beloved. So, two people cease to be two people, they become one. At first, two people walk with four legs, but in true union, they walk with three legs. They're joined together. I call it the three-legged run, for the union is not only physical, although because of the biology of man, the physiology of man, the physical union is necessary. And there's nothing wrong with it, apart from what some systems talk about, celibacy and all that. That's nonsense. If you had to be a celibate, you would not be born with the organs that you are born with. Excess is no good. Normalcy is always good. And what are we striving for? Normalcy, aren't we? Normalcy, a balance. So, apart from the physical union, comes a mental union. Right, now the mental union does not necessarily mean that you must have the same interests. You can have opposing interests. The husband might like soccer, and the wife might like music. Doesn't matter. So these are just the outward actions. But what are the inner actions of the mind? Liking cooking, or music, or hockey by the women. The man likes football or soccer, whatever the case might be, is only an expression of the conscious level of the mind. But to go back further deeper, there's still that harmony. You don't even need to have the same beliefs. I have some friends, they're meditators, and they still go to church. The husband is a Baptist, and the wife is a Catholic. So he drops her at her church, and after dropping her, he goes to his church. They do their own forms of worship, and then the husband picks her up again at her church, and they go home and live in such beautiful harmony. It reminds me of a story. There was a lady whose daughter was going to get married, and she wanted to post about 200 invitations. So she goes to the post office and she says, "Could you give me some stamps for this invitation?" So the clerk asks, "What denomination?" So the lady got surprised and says, "Has it come to this now? What denomination?" She thinks for a moment and she says, "Oh, give me 100 Catholic and 100 Baptist." Yes. And so these things do carry on in this world, and so purposelessly. I take out my joke notes. Nirmala always has a smile on her face. Yes, and in this one congregation, the minister asked, "Is there anyone here that has no troubles at all at home?" So, you know what people are. They don't always tell the truth. So everyone got up. There were no troubles at home. They don't want the others to know what troubles they got, so everyone got up, except one man. He didn't get up. So the minister looks at him, and he was wondering. Everyone got up and says, "No troubles at home," and this one man only. So when he looked around again, he saw that this man was paralyzed. So the entire world is going through frictions. The supreme bond, the super glue, is not there. 99.99% of lovers or married couples have their tiffs. I said some while ago that if I should meet Mary Stopes, I'd like to shoot her. She advocated sleeping on separate beds, twin beds. No good. Have a double bed. So whatever little squabbles there are during the day can be resolved at night because it's a double bed. Just a touch, just a smile, pick on the cheek, and all is gone, forgotten, forgiven. It's easy to forgive, but very difficult to forget. The man or the woman will say, "I forgive you, my darling." And the woman apologizes or the man apologizes. But do they really forget it? Now, how does one go about forgetting the little squabbles or major quarrels or whatever there have been? How does one go about doing that? It's only by strengthening ourselves through meditation and spiritual practices. So forgetfulness, as I've said many times before, is a great gift given to mankind. If someone has wronged you, the idea of getting one back is totally wrong. For it does not harm the other person, it harms you more. The mind is filled with mental turmoil. Your mind is filled with mental turmoil, and it harms you more. Let's take the case of jealousy. A man is jealous of his wife. Who suffers more? The man himself, because he goes through this mental agony, and just when he just can't take it anymore, he would blurt out and explode. And yet, the jealousy can just be imaginary. There could be nothing the good woman would be doing, just be imaginary. And in that imagination, so much trouble is caused. But if the man's mind was strong, his thought processes were positive, strength gained by meditation, then that green-eyed monster would not be there. Yes, and jealousy, of course, is based mostly on one's sense of inadequacy, insecurity, that I am not worth it. No, there is no such thing. Everyone is worth it. On a more intimate level, the man might think that physically I might not be satisfying my wife. But do you create the conditions? Do you just want to go to bed and copulate? No. If you want to go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, the whole love process must start here from the afternoon already. And not caressing each other when you're lying in bed. It's a gradual process from the afternoon, the little teasings and merrymaking and laughter and togetherness, and that's where it starts. And then it builds up and builds up and builds up to a crescendo where the husband and wife want to be together, really together. Because here, by building up that crescendo, all inhibitions are lost. By building up to it, all self-consciousness is lost. That's important. To get rid of the inhibitions that one has in one's mind. And the surest way for that is meditation. Where during meditation you find thoughts flowing in and out of your mind, and you watch them as an observer. And that is how the power of those thoughts, inhibitory thoughts, would gradually fade away. For in love-making, there's no such thing as frigidity nor impotency. It is just a conditioning which man brings upon himself because of past experiences, perhaps. I had occasion when someone came to see me, and he told me that he feels so inadequate because he was genitally built very small. And I said, that doesn't matter. Life is an art, and so is love making an art. And I went into details explaining him and giving him confidence, and slowly got over that. You see. So, what I'm trying to point out now, that there are various levels, even in the bond between two people. And of course the worst is bondage between two people. Bondage is a compulsion, or something forceful or forced upon each other, while a true bond is, in spite of the petty differences, in spite of the petty squabbles, that love is always there, as it should be. So, many people take things for granted. The father was showing his daughter his marriage album. And he was explaining the daughter, this is 6-year-old little daughter, this is what we looked like when we were married, and we were married in this church, and these are the pictures. He explained we got married. So the daughter says, "Oh, Daddy, I see, is that the day when Mommy came to work for us?" Yes, and that happens in many homes, where the wife is just regarded as happens a lot in Eastern homes, I know, more so than in the West, where the woman is just taken to be a piece of furniture, a paid servant. And here people have worked out that if a woman should be paid for everything she does, the salary would amount to 5 figures at least a year. It's a wonderful contribution the woman plays in a man's life. And, of course, the man too, being the provider and protector, he goes through so many problems in his workaday life. He doesn't come home, he shouldn't at least come home and pour it on his wife's head, because she has had a long day too. One day a man comes home and he found his house in a shambles. The beds were not made up, the dirty dishes were piled up in the basin, the children's toys were lying around, the books and things were lying around. The house was in a shambles. So when the husband came home from work, he asked, "What's happened here?" So the wife replies, "You always say, 'What do you do the whole day at home?' So today I did nothing." So yeah, the appreciation that is so important. And when a man truly loves a woman, he appreciates from his heart, and not just a politeness. "Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you, honey," what have you. No. From his heart. And when anything is appreciated from the heart, from the level of love, then it is very deeply felt by the other person. You do not even need to say thank you by words, just by a glance, a look, and she'll know how much she is appreciated. So now this bond can go back into so many previous lifetimes. Or, if you're very fortunate enough, the bond might start here. If two people tell me that they've fallen in love at first sight, there wouldn't be any great truth in it unless there was a bond of the past. But who knows if there was or was not. If two people meet each other and say we fall in love 99 times, I would not believe it. And infatuation has occurred. Infatuation. True love takes time to develop. You grow in love. You grow. As the leaves on the stem grow, so the flower too grows. It's a combination. Can you say the leaves are apart from that stem on which the flower stands so beautifully? Is the stalk apart? No. Or the roots apart? No. It forms a wholeness. And in this variety of life, if everything is coordinated, then you can surely say that I have experienced some love. But to experience the highest acme of love, the pinnacle would be when the two melt away into that which we could call divinity, Godhead. And then you don't exist and she doesn't exist, only divinity exists. It's no use loving a woman because she's so pretty and so beautiful, or the man so handsome. What do you really love? When you have real love, you love love. And love is God. And that is how one merges in each other to find not happiness, for that is temporary. For with happiness there would be pain. But one experiences an indefinable joy, There is just total oneness. And you can be thousands of miles apart from your beloved, and yet still experience that oneness as if she or he was just there, near you, all the time. So many men try to be superior than women. So this one man goes to a bookstore and he says at the counter, "Have you got a book, something like how to master a woman?" So the attendant there says, "You're in the wrong department, sir. The fiction section is on the other side." So we must forget mastery of anyone. A real mastery is within ourselves. And if our hearts are filled with love, you can attract that love. You can attract that love. The main cause of divorces are because it started off on the wrong footing. It started off with selfishness, infatuation. Many a man would say, a woman would say, he's rich, he can look after me, he can provide for me, I'll marry him. It's the wrong way. This one man proposed to this girl, and he says, "I love you very much, and would you marry me?" Now remember, I'm not a rich man. I'm not a rich man. I'm a hard-working, honest man, but I'm not a rich man. I'm not like Jack, who owns a yacht and a big mansion and half a dozen motor cars. I'm not rich like Jack, but I love you. So the woman replies, "Well, that is true, but tell me more about Jack." So it is selfishness. And anything based on selfishness could never last. It has to be selflessness. Then only things can last. And love is so vast, it is eternal. You start realizing that the two waves in the ocean are none other but the ocean. And when that realization dawns through spiritual practices, the two waves might go up and down, and yet the inner knowledge is there, that it is just not the water, it is the ocean. And that one discovers when one dives a little deeper and finds the calmness, for the other side of love is peace. And peace brings joy and calmness. The word consideration. You must be considerate to others. Very true in a relative sense. But consideration also means that you have considered you have deliberated a certain thing and therefore you are being considerate. You see? You see how it is based just upon thinking and the mind, while love does not think. So, you're considerate to your staff, you're considerate to your servants, you're considerate to this, that. You feel for them, fine. But to your wife you must never be considerate. Because considerateness implies pre-thinking. And the kindness, which is considerateness, that comes about must be totally spontaneous. Then it is a mark of love, without pre-thinking. You'd think, oh, this morning when I left for work, she wasn't in a good mood. So let me take a bunch of flowers to her. I hear your reasoning. You're weighing up pros and cons. Not to make her happy, but so that you could feel happiness yourself, not meeting up with a sour face when you reach home. So you're doing it for yourself. I say, oh, this will please her. We had a little squabble this morning. She burned the toast and I lost my temper. So now you take. Feel remorseful is good. It has. But this is still on the lower rungs of the ladder. But if those flowers were brought home, just spontaneously, an impulsive act that is not thought about beforehand for any particular result, that is love. So, love demands and requires and is the spontaneity, the spontaneous action where you just flow. And when you can just flow, you'll find yourself more relaxed. The stress and tension goes because you are flowing. There's no fight and neither flight, but flow. And that is the mark of love. So, to experience true love, to experience the highest thing that a man can experience is love. And when you experience love, you experience God. For God is love. And you do not need to believe in a power above or a power below or a divine energy. Forget it for the moment. These we know. And that very divine energy you can find in your beloved if you are totally merged in her or she in you. Yes, the minds do not even need to think alike. As I said before, they might have different interests. Why not? You pursue your interests. You like tennis and I like football. Does not matter at all. And so, love does not seek for outer attractions. I can only love a woman because she's attractive. That is a misconception and a selfish attitude. For here you be projecting your ideal of beauty. It is your mind that has projected the ideal. And when, after living together for a little while, the ideal is not met up with, then the trouble begins. And then divorces take place and separations take place. Unfortunately, in the Western countries, there's one divorce in every 3, which is unfortunate. While in the East, you might find one divorce in every 50,000. And yet marriages are arranged. In my time, they were. Today, times have changed. The Indians have become very anglicized. They try to become modern, so-called modern. But when marriage is arranged, I was married at the age of 15, going on for 16. My parents arranged that marriage. And I was taken around to see so many various girls, and I liked Lata. And the only way I saw her was, she was not allowed in the room, but the way to introduce is she brings in the tray of tea, and she puts it down on the table, and you just have a glance at her, because her eyes would droop, I'm sure she must have squinted and had a look at me. Yeah. And that's all. No conversation, nothing. She's a lovely girl, like her. So when we reached home, my parents asked me, what have you to say, son? I said, yes, good. Her parents asked her, what have you to say? She says, good. And the marriage is arranged. Fine. Not lovemaking, courtship first and then marriage, but here it's the other way around. First marriage and then the courtship begins. It is enjoyable, beautiful, and exploration. Because they explore first. They explore first and then they get married. In the East, in my time, they used to marry first and explore after. And that can be done with divinity. You find, through practice of meditation, you find divinity in an instant when you're ready. And then you start exploring the various facets of divinity. But the most important quality is this. I'm married to Lata, fine, and I accept her as my wife. She would say, I've married Priyatam and I accept him as my husband. Acceptance. And from that word, love blossoms. It is nurtured by this acceptance. So when two people say that they are incompatible, I'm not prepared to believe it. Compatibility can be brought about if both parties are willing to do that. So, on the lower rungs of the ladder, a lot of understanding, a lot of patience, a lot of tolerance, and all that is required. So, starts with dependence, and then to interdependence, and then to independence. Where both grow in their own beauty, and because becoming more and more beautiful, they merge together. And then the real life is experienced. The life is joy, life is love, life is God. So when these things are experienced, then life becomes worthwhile. There is a young couple who were in love with each other. So the woman asks, darling, would you die for me? You say you love me so much. Would you die for me? So he says, no, because mine is an undying love. Yes. So, then you have other marriages again. One couple got married and they were having a tough time together. So this fellow started wondering. He says, there must be something wrong here. So he went to the marriage office, marriage licensing office. So he calls the clerk And he asks the clerk, when you issued the license to me, didn't you make a mistake perhaps? So the man behind the counter asks, why? This is because I'm living a dog's life. Dog's license. Good. Tonight will be a short night, 45 minutes. And we can have a rapid fire question and answer thing if you like. What time do you wish to end, Chitanjay?
I think it's the first night people are coming from all over.
Yes, people have traveled long distances and they're tired. So I'm glad we talked on a very light subject tonight instead of exercising, too much of the grey matter, if there is any.